Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of On the Field, Off the Field, a podcast presented to you by Sports LLC. And I am your host, G. Watts, aka The Voice, coming to you from a home base in Blythewood, South Carolina. Hope everybody's been enjoying the weekend. It's currently Sunday morning. Before we get into it, though, just a little bit more about Ashe Sports. We are a sports consulting firm that works with athletes and sport managers to help them navigate some of the challenging but exciting processes that come with a career in the sports industry. If you are a sport manager or an athlete and you feel like you can use some assistance in navigating your career, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to sit down, see if we can help you out. So you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Ashe Sports LLC. Of course, we're here on YouTube. We would love to hear from you in the comment section. Also, if you're feeling this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Definitely would appreciate it as well. All right, so let's get into it. All right, so before we get to the main topic of this video, I wanted to just kind of bring this information to you. I don't know if you remember Ben McLemore. He was the 7th overall draft pick in 2013 by the Sacramento Kings. More recently, he was found guilty on multiple charges, including rape and sexual abuse, and convicted to 8 years in prison. So this is just a sad and harsh reminder that athletes, you have to make sure you're making good judgment calls out there, whether on the college level, the high school level, the professional level. You have to make better or good judgment calls for your life and for your career. All right, coaches and mentors, make sure you are advising your athletes and stand on top of them about making good judgment calls. All right, because it's easy to kind of find yourself in that particular environment, and now it costs you 8 years of your life and your reputation as well. So definitely make sure that athletes, coaches, mentors, make sure we're out here doing our best to just alleviate these type of situations. All right, so for the main topic of this video, it's going to be involving the NIL landscape. I'm going to try to run through it. I feel like I got a lot that I want to say about it, a lot of information that I want to deliver to you. But I'm pretty sure everybody knows that Trump has been engaging or drafting up an executive order that will influence the NIL landscape. The order, titled Saving College Sports, is supposedly aimed at regulating the rapidly changing college sports landscape. And these regulations stem from that Supreme Court ruling on antitrust laws that opened the door, of course, for college athletes to earn from their name, image, and likeness. Also, as well as transfer freely between schools. Remember, before athletes had to sit out a year when you transfer, back when I played. So of course now they came. They're saying that that basically the NIL landscape in college sports, it needs to be regulated better, and they are now trying to incorporate federal regulations, which will kind of set policies all around the board instead of just statewide for colleges, universities, and athletes and third-party vendors to follow as far as NIL deals go. Now, for this conversation, it's important to note that athletes couldn't get paid directly from the schools or universities, but now schools will be able to allocate just over $20 million to pay athletes directly. That was from the House v. NCAA settlement that's kind of being finalized and getting to approval. But schools will now be able to pay athletes directly. Before they couldn't. So basically, this executive order is supposedly looking to solve some of the issues that came with the new NIL landscape. All right. Those issues including maintaining equality in men and women's sports. And of course, issues with athletes being preyed on. And that's whether through bogus contracts or bogus clauses in contracts and scam attempts. Believe it or not, athletes have been, I don't want to say getting scammed, but there have been scam attempts on athletes in the NIL landscape, which is becoming crazy. And of course, they are pushing issues that relate to pushing for collective bargaining. All right. Now, looking through the executive order, I've been reading through it, kind of piecing through it, because, of course, one article don't tell you everything about it. You have to kind of look through a lot of information, multiple articles out there, just to kind of really see the full view, or get the full scope of what the executive order is talking about. Now, although it seems the executive order is supposed to be, in a sense, looking out for athletes, a lot of advocates, a lot of critics, a lot of sports leaders, they believe that the policies that are in that executive order are NCAA friendly, more so than athlete friendly, okay? Now, the order does call for protections on a number of scholarships or sports teams that don't generate significant revenue. As we know, for a lot of these big time schools, the two major sports that generate revenue, even for the smaller schools, is going to be basketball and football. All right. That's because even if you got a great, lacrosse team, unless you're packing out the football stadium for their games, or you're packing out the basketball arena for the volleyball games, they're just not going to be the top earners at that particular university or college or school. All right. And I could, definitely, I definitely would like to see protections for those, for the sports that don't generate as much revenue. All right. Being student athletes, we want to see them be able to succeed. We don't want to see, their careers and their education kind of go to the wayside at the cost of another sports team. All right. But it was funny that was put in there because one thing I saw was that Trump's granddaughter, I believe her name is Kai Trump. She plays golf, I believe, for the University of Miami. And of course, golf is going to be one of those sports that don't generate as much revenue as the football team or the basketball team. So of course, is there any reason that he put that in, in the executive order, based on his granddaughter playing for such a, kind of one of those sports that don't generate a lot of money for the athletic department. Now, one thing I also saw too is that his granddaughter is valued at about 1.2 million as far as her NIL deals go. And one thing we're going to talk about is how in that executive order, Trump, they're putting clauses that will potentially limit how much athletes can earn in the NIL landscape. All right, so they're trying to that's one of the main points of this video. Is that, they're trying to basically limit the athletes in a lot of ways, where the athletes, won't be able to make as much money. As we know, some of these athletes was making more money in college off of NIL than they are, say, for their rookie contracts in the NFL. And a lot of people was, seeing that as a crazy idea, but that's the truth. Is some of these athletes were getting paid more. Especially on women's basketball too. They was getting paid more in college than they are obviously on the pro level. But now they're trying to limit the athletes' compensation as part of that executive order. But will that limit his granddaughter's NIL deals? Will she continue to get a rise in her valuations? That's something to look out for and keep an eye on too. You know what I mean? So I ain't gonna say too much more, because I got a lot more to say on the back end of that, but we're gonna keep it moving. All right. So there is also wording in the executive order that will protect the NCAA from lawsuits by athletes. All right. And as we know, one of the biggest lawsuits that has come forth more recently is going to be the lawsuit that led to athletes being able to get paid off their name, image, and likeness. All right. So it's funny that now they want to be able to kind of limit the lawsuit, not even limit, kind of eliminate the NCAA from being sued by college athletes. So think about that. You know what I mean? And then also there's a request for the National Labor Relations Board to clarify the employment status of college athletes. All right. Some argue that college athletes should be classified as employees of the university, which is similar to their peers who may work on campus, work a W-2 job on campus, say at the student center or, doing some other activity. There are students who are employed by the university and they are considered employees. Now, what's funny about them trying to clarify the employment status of college athletes, and the thing is that it's not, I don't think it's going to be one of those, hey, we need to decide. It's either, it's you need to make it so they are non-employees, you know. They state that, like, one of the biggest reasons why they don't want to classify these athletes as employees is, first and foremost, they'll be able to unionize, do more collective bargaining, in a sense to negotiate higher salaries, and things of that nature, you know, better benefits for themselves. And of course, being employees, they're going to have benefits, workers' compensation, things of that nature. So some college sports leaders and Republican lawmakers, they believe that college athletes should not be considered employees because many athletic departments would not be able to afford the added cost that would come with that. All right. And now in the executive order, one thing I saw too is that they are looking to classify the athletes as non-employees. Like I said, it's more so, it's not more so of, hey, we need to make a decision. It's more so, hey, we need you to just, you know, kind of clarify and put this on paper that they're not going to be employees. All right. So based on that, you know, we can see how that executive order is geared toward benefiting the big universities, the coaching staff, the collectives and donors that pool money into accounts that are that is used to pay the athletes. It looks like the executive order is trying to kind of take back power and wealth from the athletes and kind of give it back to those entities and individuals, which is sad to say, because you know, it just makes me like, you know, like why, you know, like why don't you want to share the wealth that has been accumulated through these athletic departments with these athletes, but you want to make it an equal playing field for men and women's sports and sports programs that don't generate enough revenue. You want them to get it equally, but it doesn't seem like they're trying to make it equal for the athletes who are earning, you know, upwards of million, you know, 6-7 figure, you know, valuations for their NIL deals, and they could have the potential to increase that. You know, you don't want to share the wealth there. So that, you know, now, like, just jumping from that, I got some other information, but just jumping from that though, the biggest, like I was saying, like, for me, like, why they don't want to share the wealth, that's a big question for me, because it made me look at, and I kind of already knew, but I recently looked at where the numbers, where the money is going. It's been stated that these universities, these colleges and these schools, and potentially, I'm pretty sure the NCAA have raked in billions of dollars over decades. When you're talking, you know, revenue from ticket sales, merchandise sales, media deals, things of that nature, they've raked in billions of dollars. All right. And that was before athletes could get paid. All right. So when I played from 2005 to 2008, I didn't get paid. You know, the only thing I got was whatever the remainder of my refund check was, which was about $2,000 per semester. So that's all I had when that ran out, and I wasn't smart with my money too. You know, I kind of blew it. You know, being young, I didn't come from a lot. I kind of ran through that $2,000, and it's like, once that's gone, then I got no more money. All I got is my meal swipes and, you know, what the football team provides me. But yeah, it makes you think, like, where is the money going? If they've brought in billions of dollars over the past, you know, however many decades, now you want to look a little deeper there. So I found the short answer being that the money's going to coaches and the coaching staff buyouts that they, you know, kind of engage in when a coach leaves earlier than his contract. The school want him out of there earlier than his contract states, and they got to basically buy him out of his contract, which is crazy. Paying him still millions of dollars just to get him to go. You know what I mean? You know, so it goes to support staff, coaches in their buyouts. It goes to facility improvements, and then there's this ever, as they say, this ever growing other category of operating expenses. All right. So I found some information here that I wanted to share with you all too. So it says, while an increasing percentage of annual revenue goes to coaches, support, and administrative staff members and facilities, a decreasing percent goes toward expenses that have costs that are relatively fixed, such as athletic student aid, meals, or sports equipment, because those expenses have limits. All right. There are limits on such a number of scholarships that are allowed per sport, or the types of expenses that can be covered by grants and aid. Now that, like, when they talk about those expenses that can be covered in grant and aid, the expenses that's decreasing. Those expenses that, like, they're not putting as much money toward. Like, you're talking about, like, how many meals an athlete can eat in a given year. Even though they say, like, they're allowed unlimited meals and snacks. All right. So from my experience on that part, during the season, hey, we get all you can eat breakfast. We get fed our lunch before meetings and practice, and we get all you can eat dinner. All right. Until, of course, they close out, whatever. But it's all you can eat. We can take plates home, ice cream, steaks, this and that. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that, lobster, this and that. We had nice meals. I'll say that. But the thing is, though, once the season is over, right? Now, during the season, you get your meal swipes, too. Now, it wasn't unlimited. I can tell you that part. Not for us. It wasn't unlimited. So you'll get your meal swipes. And like I said, we get our meals throughout the season. After the season is over, so you're talking about coming back, like, around January, getting ready for winter conditioning and things of that nature, or in the next semester, all we had was meal swipes. We didn't get, I believe we got fed breakfast. I think you get up and go to breakfast. You still get your buffet breakfast because you had to go see your class, go check in there before you go to class or whatever, whatnot. So we still had our breakfast. For lunch, I believe lunch was kind of on us. They didn't have lunch in our cubbies when we went to the to the facilities. Lunch, you had to go use the meal swipes. And dinner was on us too. It wasn't the buffet dinner in the off season. All right. So now in that off season, in that semester, now if I ran out of my $2,000, my little refund check, and I ran out of my meal swipes, that was it. Unless I had family who could send me some money, or I had friends who might have stayed close and their parents hooked them up with food or something like that. That was it. That was it for us, man. I remember it was one time, bro, we was struggling, bro. We were struggling, and at that point, you got to hope that somebody else has a meal swipe that they could get you in with. Or like I said, you got family who could send you money, or friends who could look you out. So, like I said, yeah, that was my experience when it comes to meals and snacks and things of that nature as a football player. And like I said, that was from 05 to 08. A lot of things could have changed in that particular sense, but as it states here, they are they are decreasing the percentage that they put toward these type of this type of, as they say, grants and aid, things that's covered by grants and aid. You know what I mean? So now looking at that in juxtaposition, what you want to see, or what I saw, and I want to give it to you, is they don't have any limits on spending when it comes to coaches' salaries or their buyouts, facility improvements or facility management, and revenue increases. All right, so they don't got no spending limits there. They have spending limits on how many meals that an athlete can have. Back in the day when I played, of course, before NIL, you couldn't even sign an autograph for somebody. You couldn't sell your jersey. You couldn't do none of that. A la Trevor Pryor, Reggie Bush. You couldn't do none of that, or it's considered a violation of the amateur rules for the NCAA, and you were penalized. And the school was penalized. And I even think Reggie Bush had filed a lawsuit based on that. So it's crazy. But going back to basically them not having limits, spending limits on coaching salaries, buyouts, facilities, and revenue increases. But when I thought about it, I'm like, some of these schools are considered, a lot of them are considered, whether public and private, as I saw, are considered nonprofits. And if you know about nonprofit, I know a little bit about it. I know one thing about nonprofits is that you have to spend a certain amount toward the development or improvement of the business. All right, before you can say, hey, I'm as a nonprofit board member or shareholder or whatever, I'm gonna take this amount. I'm gonna take a big chunk of what we made and take that before I do. No, you can't do it like that, because then you lose your tax status, your nonprofit, that tax status that comes with being a nonprofit. All right. So they have to spend a certain amount of money in a certain area to keep their tax status. So they're kind of winning on both sides. All right. They're generating, millions of dollars in revenue 1 year, but they also getting a tax break at the end of that year. They slinging the money into the facilities, slinging the money into the coaching salaries, but they are not wanting to share that money with the athletes. And it's crazy because me and my fiance was talking. She made a great point. I was going to say something about this a little bit later, but I'm going to talk about it now. This is a great time to interject. Without those athletes, they have nothing. All right. Without those athletes, they have nothing. If no athletes showed up on game day, if no athletes showed up to practice, and that was on a consistent basis, you would not have ticket sales. Nobody's just going to come out there and sit to say, hey, we finna support an empty stadium because the athletes are striking or they say they're not going to play. You're not going to have merchandise sales the longer it continues. And you're not going to generate no TV revenue, because ain't no TV networks going to look to be paying you for an empty stadium. All right. So without those athletes, these universities, these athletic departments, the presidents of the university, any shareholder that has a hand in it, they not getting paid. Like, you know what I mean? They're going to have to shut down. So it's crazy that they don't want to share any of that money that they're allocating in other ways to these athletes, because these athletes are what make and break the programs. Like I said, if you can't bring no athletes to your program, you got no program. If anything, they're going to close. They're going to shut down the football program. If you come in like, hey, I can't recruit nobody. Everybody else left. I can't recruit nobody. No matter what I do, you got no program. You got no football team. You got no basketball team. Heck, you got no lacrosse team. You got no volleyball team. You got no golf team. You know what I mean? You got no men's row team. You got none of that. So, like I said, man, to see them trying to hold back money from the athletes is it's weird. It's understandable because, they running it like obviously a business. Like we tell the athletes, man, sometimes you got to treat it as a business yourself. You can't get caught up with what a coach might be saying or what they're saying. Hey, we could do this and that for you, this for you, or oh, you can play on ESPN, play every Saturday, and like I said, you thinking before NIL too, before they could just offer the money. You know what I mean? It was just all flashing lights that they throw in front of you because you want to try to get to a good school, play at a good school, and then get to the next level, the pro level, where you could get paid. That's why Alabama be so in a sense good, because a lot of players want to go to Alabama because Alabama has a strong history of getting guys in the NFL. All right, that's how they continue to get these top recruits that keep them at the top 10 every year. You know what I mean? So why not give them what's deserved, the money they deserve? They're not saying give them all the money, give them some of it. Now, based on that, check this out. When we looking at, and it's crazy, I say Alabama. So Alabama, I had did some research there. The University of Alabama, the Crimson Tide, all right, department-wide, their biggest expense was coaches' pay and benefits. All right, their biggest expense out of all the revenue, including the large football spending states here. UA reported $65.3 million in revenue, a huge jump from the previous fiscal year, which was $37.3 million. All right. Biggest expense out of $65.3 million is coaches' pay and benefits. Now, I said, okay, based on that, let me look up Alabama head coach, what he's making a year. Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer, he has an 8-year contract with an average annual salary of $10.875 million. His first year salary is $10 million, and the contract increases by $250 million each year, reaching $11.7 11.75 to be exact, in the final year. His contract makes him one of the highest paid college football coaches. So in 8 years, he stands to make, and that's at the minimum, $80 million. And of course, he's going to make more than that based on salary increases and also the salary change as the years go. He's going to make $80 million in 8 years. And no disrespect to him. Like, I know college, man, I know it can't be that. It can't be easy for a college coach, but it can't be easy for any coach. I've seen my high school coaches work hard, grind hard, kind of go through the same thing. They prepared me for college because they taught us, or they trained us and taught us and mentored us as if we were on the college level. So I know how hard my high school coaches work, but they wasn't getting paid $80 million over 8 years. You know what I mean? Check this out. So we did a little bit more. I did a little bit more research. Some of the highest paid college football coaches as of March 2025. That includes Kirby Smart of Georgia, Ryan Day of Ohio State, and Dabo Swinney of Clemson, with salaries that exceed $11 million. Dabo has a 10-year contract worth $115 million. All right, so it's kind of still by a little over 10 mil, right? 10 mil a year. But it's crazy though. If an athlete is making is valued at $1 million for their NIL, and they say, hey, well, I think I'm valued at 5. And he goes to negotiate that, and you know what I mean? But they like, nah, we don't want to give you 5. Why not? You can't take 5 from that $115 million Dabo making. You can't take 5 from that $80 million that Kalen DeBoer is making. You can't take 5 from Kirby Smart with the salary of $13.28 million a year. You can't take 5 from him. Can't take 10 from that. Now, of course, the programs have seen success, of course. And with that success comes more revenue. I mean, TV deals, jerseys, merchandise sales, sponsorships, partnerships, all that good stuff. You know what I mean? So, ticket sales, of course. But without the players, you don't got that. Without the players, you got none of that, man. So, again, it's crazy that they're trying to limit these players. You know what I'm saying? Limit how much these players can make. Why, man? Like, just control. Another thing I thought about too, top sports programs that bring in revenue for a lot of these schools, football, basketball. All right, not knocking any other race, but those two sport programs are hold a lot of minorities. All right. Is it because they don't want to transfer that wealth in the hands of these minorities? I mean, I don't know. When you think about it, man, like, honestly, that's just me, based on my experience, and that's professional experience, life experience. You know what I mean? Like, do you think they could be trying to just continue to hoard the wealth? You know what I mean? Like I say, majority of a lot of these coaches are Caucasian. All right. They could, you know what I'm saying? 80 mil, 115 mil, but you don't want to share nothing with the athletes. You know what I mean? Trying to block them out almost completely, in a sense. And that pay for play thing too, man. So the pay for play, that kind of ties into it. I think the executive order had clauses that state that players still couldn't get paid for play, excuse me. Which means they're not getting paid for their performance on the field. As everybody knows, with NIL, they're getting paid for jersey sales, merchandise sales, signing autographs, going to camps, going to clinics, promotional videos and things of that nature that the school uses for the, hype videos that the school uses to, draw in fans and, for the beginning of the season, whatnot, next game or whatever. They're getting paid that way. They're not getting directly paid for their performance, all right? So why not, when their performance is what helps Kirby Smart, Ryan Day, Dabo Swinney, Kalen DeBoer, it helps them earn nearly $100 million, if not that. You know what I'm saying? 80 mil, 115 mil, 100 mil, 13 mil a year. You know what I mean? Like, why? So that was one of the biggest reasons why I wanted to jump on here and kind of just, say my piece about that part, man. And, just throw some information out there to you. Hopefully you do your research and you start, looking at it and see kind of what's going on there because, yeah, man, I think, these college athletes definitely need somebody behind them, better representation. Heck, even if it is from them unionizing. Because like they said, man, kind of over the years, yeah, a lot of guys went pro. Cool. A lot of those guys who went pro went broke. They still went broke. You know what I mean? A lot of them still had off the field issues that cost them their career, their lives, cost them their time in prison. Like, so it's like, man, look, bro. Is it just, they care for you, and from my experience, they care for you when you're good for them, when they can use you. When they can't use you no more, they toss you. All right. And I plan on telling my story, but just to give you the short summary, my last year at Rutgers, I wanted to transfer. You know what I mean? Can't lie, I got in my share of trouble at Rutgers, but I also did my thing as an athlete at Rutgers. All right, I can say that. All right, wanted to transfer. Kind of didn't do it the right way. I was still young and dumb, but finally got in front of Coach Shiano at Rutgers, and basically when I told him I wanted to transfer, basically, it was like, I can't remember the exact conversation. I can tell you that much, but past that conversation, me trying to go back to rehab, because at that point I had tore my ACL, MCL. All right, and past that it got infected, bad infection, multiple surgeries on one knee because of that. Stemmed from medical malpractice. But I was doing my rehab, and it was like, it had to be first half of the season in 2008, doing my rehab, going through my rehab, whatnot. Now, excuse me, matter of fact, sorry, it was 2009. It was after that first season. So when I finally said, hey, hey, I want to transfer, want to look to maybe try my hand somewhere else. I was told that I couldn't use I could, man, my bad. I'm trying to get it out, man, because it's still, it's still, kind of. So basically I was told I couldn't use the facilities at the Hale Center, which was the football facilities, where, all the football players go for their athletic training, rehab, things like that. I couldn't use that anymore. I had to go across campus to the RAC, which was the basketball facility. And not knocking the basketball, program, but their facilities was not as good as ours. So it's just the truth. Their facility was not as good as ours, but I was basically alienated from the program in that particular sense. Man, at that point, man, I stopped going to rehab, kind of stopped going to school. You know what I mean? I didn't even graduate, get my degree, man. It took for my academic advisor to call me over the summer and say, hey, what are you doing? And I always appreciate her for that. Jenna, she asked, man, what are you doing? You need to get back, here and finish this up. You're not gonna waste all that time and all the work you put in. So forget football. So she helped me get back in for the summer, which helped me graduate and get my bachelor's degree. So, I was kind of depressed, as I tell people, man. The way I left that program, the way it finished, kind of ended for me. I went through, strong state of depression. It was real hard for me to kind of bounce back and rebound from that. So, like I say, when they need you, they need you. When they don't, they don't. All right. Yeah, I might have made some mistakes, but at the end of the day, I was 21, still a young man, came out of high school, went to college. In college, was kind of cared for by the football team in that particular sense. And I'm thinking, hey, I'm going pro. But all that was snatched away from me based on my knee injury. And when that happened, I was lost. I didn't have a true backup plan. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And like I said, based on how I left the program, it was like, man, I was lost. I was lost out here. So, that's why I want to, as a sports consultant, be there for the athletes, and even the sport managers too, man, even coaches, you know what I mean, to help avoid such an event like that, something that I went through. But I want to be there for the athletes, if anything, because the athletes are what matters. Even as a coach myself, I try to do my best to, of course, I'm gonna instill what they need to do good on the court, but I'm gonna try to do my best to instill my knowledge and experience in them to help them do the best they can off the court or off the field. All right. Try to give them my experiences so they don't make the same mistakes. You know what I mean? So I'm all about the athletes. I'm all about them leveling up. That's why I say, man, with this executive order, just wanted to bring this information to you. Athletes, stay diligent, man. Keep fighting hard. Just don't let this knock you down. Hopefully, man, like I said, man, me and one of my partners was talking about, how can we help the athletes? How can we really be there for them? They can't have a union, but hey, we can still be there for them in some kind of way. So, we're trying to put our heads together to see kind of what we can do there. If anybody got any recommendations, we would love to hear it too. So, but definitely, man, like I said, man, I'm a big advocate for the athletes. Just keeping them on the right track mentally, physically, keeping them on the right track in life, and keeping them on the right track athletically. And I mean, I guess one of the biggest things, keeping them on track spiritually. All right. Because like I said, man, when I left school and it was over for me, man, I went through a strong bout with depression, mental illness. It was hard, man. It was real hard. So, like I say, man, athletes, man, keep your head up, stay diligent, man. Sport managers, coaches, parents, mentors, anybody who works with an athlete on the youth level, college level, pro level, make sure you are, like I said, advising them in the right ways. Don't just make it about the game. Work them hard. You know what I mean? Make sure they improve physically. Make sure they improve athletically, skill set wise, but also make sure you're improving their mind and their spirit. All right, man? Because football or sports is not going to be the end game. From my experience, it could get snatched away from you fast, or you might just not want to do it, man. I knew a guy who got drafted first round. Played with him at Rutgers. He got drafted first round, and I think couple years, he retired, man. 20-something, man. He was done with it. You know what I mean? He was done with the game. He was ready to put down his cleats. So, I mean, I always have a plan B, man. Plan C, if you can. Plan D, should have a whole game plan, man, for what you want to do if sports don't work out for you. All right? So, but I hope y'all enjoyed the video. It's been great sitting here, kind of slanging this information to y'all, man. I had a lot more, but I'm going to go ahead and cut it short right here. But I'm definitely going to come back with some more NIL information for the athletes, man, just to kind of, like I said, give you my perspective, try to keep you updated, try to help you out any way I can. If you need help, if you want to reach out just to see if we can assist, man, like I said, reach us on Instagram, Facebook at asesportsllc. And like I said, of course, we're here on YouTube. Still trying to stay consistent, getting my videos out there. But feel free to comment on anything that you feel you want to talk about, hear about, or get my opinion on, or give me your opinion on. I would definitely appreciate it. All right. Well, this has been your host, G Watts, aka The Voice. I'm going to go ahead and sign off. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Sunday and enjoy the week. And I'll see y'all next time. Peace.